This is Rebecca Lowe, or Rebecca Lua, if you listen to Suboptimal Radio, and you are listening to Men in Blazers on the NBC Sports Network.
It's unbelievable!
From the Embassy Row studios in the crap part of Soho, and my house in the crap part of Bridgehampton, Rog, is the Men in Blazers podcast.
Oh, we survived the Eclipse edition, David.
We did.
Only just.
We did. We went out on the terrace. We looked.
At Embassy Row.
Yeah, you were wearing glasses.
You thought all the staff were out there on the rooftop just to look at the eclipse. The honest truth is, they're normally just hanging out on the rooftop.
Doing what?
Just hanging out, man. Looking busy.
I don't approve of that. We got too much work to do.
Biz dev. I've got to be honest, though. This may be controversial and may get slapped down for this minority opinion.
Uh-huh.
I've got to be honest, we were in the middle of producing. Yeah, we do actually work a little bit before we go live on air for the Men in Blazers show. We were producing episode 1, season 4 of the Men in Blazers show, and everyone had stormed outside of the office from all of the different shows that Embassy Row produces. And I looked around on this vast kind of production floor, and there was just me and J-Dubs working away on the editor. And I turned around to him and I said, J-Dubs, is it a bit weird that I feel like I'm just not that into it? You know, Everton were about 20 minutes away from kicking off against Manchester City, what I was genuinely excited about. And I looked deep inside my heart and I thought, there were all television screens with the television coverage of the eclipse. And I thought, God, what is wrong with me? I'm just not that into this.
You know, there are eclipses that went on, assuming that the universe is infinite, Rog.
Yeah.
There were eclipses all over the universe. I started thinking, like a little speck of dust, that we were so obsessed with the eclipse on our little North American hemisphere. But there are eclipses everywhere, Roger. It made me feel so small. I didn't like it. I had to stop thinking so big.
Oh, you like to be a globalist in your eclipse thinking, not a parochialist.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
I just found the television coverage of it so odd. It was like watching other people enjoy themselves, watching something that you weren't watching.
Well, lots of people looking up in the air, which doesn't make for great television.
Yeah, I mean...
You sort of feel that the network notes on the Eclipse productions, they're going to say, okay, let's look at it. I think we've learned a lot for the next time we cover an eclipse.
You think? I've got to say...
I don't know how long it is till there is another one.
Watching other people enjoy themselves watching something was as close to being a proper Arsenal fan as I think I'll ever be. I mean, at Scott Wingset tweeted in and said... The Eclipse is akin to being a Gunners fan. The joy is brief, and looking at it too long can result in permanent damage. I just want to read Victor Hugo's words that I think for Arsenal fans and for listeners who also care about the national page of the newspaper, a proper haunting. He wrote, "Nations like stars are entitled to eclipse. All is well provided the light returns, and the eclipse does not become endless night. Dawn and resurrection are synonymous. The reappearance of the light, the same as the survival of the soul." So I don't want to go prematurely to my Guinness, Davo, but I do want to toast light, and I do want to toast the survival of the soul. Talking about the national page and the future of this country, we were in Washington, D.C.
We were talking about the real Embassy Row, Rog. We were in a real embassy on Embassy Row.
We somehow were invited. And I still don't quite understand how this occurred, Davo. What lapse of security, what lapse of national strategic thinking led to us being invited to do a live show at the British Embassy? I mean, in my mind, felt like we'd been elected to urinate on the dying embers of our British Empire. But for you, it was right, proper, meaningful, right, Davo?
Well, to be fair, Rog, you did get the whole crowd chanting USA, USA, USA in a moment of blatant pandering at the British Embassy. The ambassador looked particularly uncomfortable seeing as we were on British soil during that point.
His lips did push. We were on British soil. We were on British legal jurisdiction. And I got the crowd chanting USA just by mentioning the fact that my, please God, application for citizenship is almost at the end point and I will become incredibly soon an American. And the crowd did start chanting USA, USA, USA. And the ambassador whispered to me from across the table, "You do know we're on British legal jurisdiction. I can have you executed."
When you do that, are you going to give up your British citizenship and be just American? Or are you going to keep your British passport as well?
We'll have a vote. Should we do it? Should we have a democratic election?
What? You're going to have the GFOP's vote?
Yeah, sure.
They'll have you give it up in a second.
Well, we'll do it by
you might want to talk to Mrs. B because your kids might want to have work permits.
We'll do it by the Electoral College. We'll do it by. By the way, there were two things I was crap at bureaucracy at. One was getting myself American citizenship, and the other one was getting my kids English passports, which is disgusting that I've not done it. I keep meaning to do it. I've got the applications. They're more than 57 pages, which is overload for me, and I've not done it, and it's disgusting. But when Brexit went down and they could no longer go to any university in Europe, she suddenly turned to me. She's like, all right, it's less important now.
No, that's
so thank you, Brexit engineers, for bringing harmony to the Bennett House. By the way,
we actually did something for Britain, though, Rod. I realised
but this was meaningful for you.
We actually contributed and did something for Britain.
Describe what it was like to you in your heart, because it did mean something to you.
Well, no. I'm just talking about the Premier League, per the ambassador, prompted heavily by questioning from us, is one of the greatest tools of soft power that the United Kingdom has.
We got that and Phil Collins. That's the two things we got left, David.
Well, no, we've got more embassies and more consulates than any other nation in the world in more nations. And we've got the Premier League. That's basically it. And we're very good at the sitting down sports like rowing and cycling in the Olympics. But we actually did something. We contributed. We brought young Americans to chant USA, USA, USA at the British Embassy. And it feels like we're part of a Premier League that does a lot of good for British relationships around the world.
It's true. We used to dominate the world with naval sea power.
No.
And now we're dependent on the like watching Theo Walcott, Mesut Ozil and the likes just trot around the field in a half-hearted way to have any kind of say in world affairs. Did it shock you in any way, though, that His Excellency Sir Nigel Kim Darroch was a Chelsea fan?
No, I mean, he's obviously, he's from Oxford. He's not from London. He's from Oxford. I think his nearest Premier League club or First Division club were Chelsea growing up. He's certainly, I think we can safely say, well-educated, Sir Kim, and so leans towards the clubs in the West End of London. But he talked about, in the late 1960s, early 1970s, how fashionable they were, how flash they were, which they were for a very brief period in the late 60s, early 70s. Then it went away as they drifted down into Division 2 for most of the 70s and 80s. But no, it didn't surprise me that much.
His whole life now revolves around once great entities falling into sudden decline. I guess as the British ambassador, he's got plenty of experience with that. Why not with football too? Here's what I loved about DC. Apart from the remarkable GFOP support we encountered, we had a 1,000-person wait list. And I wish we could have got everybody, jammed them all in to that beautiful, beautiful embassy ballroom. The embassy, and I wish we could have taken more footage of this, the embassy has hanging in its front hallway. Do you remember 2 huge 19th century portraits of
King George and his wife, the last king and queen of America?
Yeah,
They're
beautiful
sort of
Queen
trolling
Charlotte.
all Americans who come into that place.
Yeah, imagine
in some ways, it's a very poor troll.
Oh, no, mate, it's the best. I've got to tell you. Oil painting trolling, I think it's still the best kind of trolling, David.
Even though, look, I think we have to say, Rog, even though you're continuing to be a bit rude, he couldn't have been nicer to us, Sir Kim. He couldn't have been more welcoming. Everybody at the embassy was incredibly welcoming. It is a fantastic building. What a beautiful building by Sir Edwin Lutyens, his only building in North America. Just a fantastic building. We were given a warm welcome, as were all of our GFOPs, given a wonderful welcome over there. And we're very grateful to Sir Kim and the entire embassy staff, how warmly they welcomed us.
Yeah, the Guinness.
You want to talk about the decline of the British Empire and what he's presiding over. But they were wonderful to us.
The Guinness that I supped with you just before the show in the beautiful English gardens out back was one of the most beautiful, poignant Guinnesses that we have shared together. You also, I should say, loved the formal title of the ambassador. Your Excellency.
Yeah.
Is it true that you now have your show staff call you that?
No, it's not true. It's not true. I'm not, even though my company is called Embassy Row and my holding company is Diplomatic and my new company is Ambassador Creative, I'll never be Your Excellency, to my father's eternal disappointment, Rog.
For JW and I, our tour continued. We went to your first American home. We went to the metropolis of Orlando.
Yeah.
God, that's a wild spot. We kept trying to picture you mentally there, Dave. It was not easy.
Well, I don't think you walked down Park Avenue in Winter Park. I don't think you headed downtown to Amelia Street to all of my local haunts. But you were closer to Universal Studios, maybe a little bit down in Kissimmee, Rog. I don't think you're in my old nabe.
Oh, we had an amazing time. I want to be quite clear, but here's what I don't understand about that city, Orlando. It's got an incredibly deep history. I think, was it Ponce de Leon who spied the shoreline in 1513?
What, the shoreline of Orlando?
Yeah, but somehow...
What, from 60 miles over to where the ocean is?
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, no, he discovered
He had
St.
good
Augustine,
vision. He had
Rog,
good
which is
eyes.
quite a long way northeast.
Somehow, the oldest thing in that entire area that JW and I found, and we really looked, I'd like to say we yomped around just like with a compass and a map, old school style. We perambulated Orlando. The oldest thing that we found was a cheesecake factory that opened in the early 90s. I've never been in a place where everything is so shiny and new. The whole place, the whole city, it felt like it had been built out of the same material that Wayne Newton's cheekbones are
It was an
constructed
old
out of.
orange-growing city, Rog, hence the Citrus Bowl. And so when Flagler built the railroad down the East Coast and he, redid St. Augustine and he built, on his way down to West Palm Beach, he built this little winter haven, this winter parkland for New Yorkers called Winter Park. And that's the whole old place.
Home of Dax McCarty. I spent the afternoon at the Golf Channel headquarters.
Yeah.
Which is on Golf Channel Drive.
Yeah. They kind of had to put it there.
Still not clear to me what came first. Was the channel named after the road, or was the road named after the channel?
I think it was the former.
If any of you Orlandans know the answer to that riddle, it's driving me crazy. Yeah. I did have a great time with Double D, Dom Dwyer. We taped a pod with him before a live audience, which was rather hilarious. I genuinely love that guy. I love his great American story, which to me, I'm sure it is to you, dear listener, Dom Dwyer's arc of success in America is reminiscent really only of Scarface's. If Scarface had kind of dedicated himself a bit harder to his athletic ability, we encountered a phenomenal football culture down there. It's beautiful, Dave. We need to together go to Orlando City Stadium. The first time I saw that stadium, I think it was in early March, I just wanted to jump through the television screen and encounter the football culture that's growing there. And I can vouch, it's phenomenal. It's authentic. It's deeply emotionally connected to that team. They own that city right now. And our Dom Dwyer pod, which was taped live, is going to come out on the 31st of this beautiful month of August, David.
Men in Blazers show came back last night, Rog.
Oh,
it was
terrible.
crapper than ever.
It was terrible, mate. You were great.
Yeah.
You were great.
But
Christian Eriksen.
I was only averagely crap.
Great. Toby Alderweireld. Unbelievably good. That wink, I'm still flying high off that. I let you down, though. And then we're off to Vegas next Monday, right, Davey?
Looking forward to that, Rog.
Really?
Never been in Vegas with you.
And rarely have you been more excited for an MIB road trip, and rarely have I been more afraid of getting pregnant.
How are you going to get pregnant?
I don't know. Just the way you talk about Vegas, that's just the fear that I get in my inners. But you love Vegas.
I do. I like Vegas. Well, I don't like it for more than 48 hours at a time, but we're going for, I believe, less than 24 hours, Rog, so we're going to have a wild time. Don't think you're going to sleep on Monday night, by the way.
Oh, why are we going to the Hoover Dam?
No, we're not going to the Hoover Dam. It's going to be like, what was the movie with Mike Tyson? They end up with a tiger. It's going to be something like that.
Yeah, that's just Tuesday night at Davo's. I love the Hoover Dam, though, and I don't know if we have any GFOPs in Las Vegas. Do you imagine we do, Davo? Oh, yeah, sorry. Hercules Gomez comes from Vegas.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll have some Gomez's. Maybe we'll go and meet the Gomez's, David.
It's quite warm for the majority of the Major League Soccer season in Las Vegas.
Don Garber's listening, making notes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Warm is good.
Yeah, warm is good. Warm is power. Okay, Rog, we got a packed show today. We're going to break down Chelsea's 2-1 win over Spurs in the footballing extended stay that is Wembley Stadium. We ponder whether United are title favourites or tomato can bullies after their second 4-0 win in a row. And we check Ancestry.com to see if Wayne Rooney is related to Ponce de Leon after his goal in Everton's 1-1 draw at Manchester City. That is a fountain of youth reference. Okay, Rod, to the football.
This is already a double Ponce de Leon pod.
I know.
Normally we save those references for our other podcast, Today in Ponce de Leon's Proclivities.
How long? We've been doing this for 6 years. He never got a mention. This is twice in one show.
8 years, mate. Oh, listen to that. That is the sound of freshly liberated Guinness, the best kind of Guinness. And I raise it, Davo, and I welcome Premier League football back into our lives. To welcome back the feeder fish that follow the shark. Welcome back omnipresent and slightly weird commercials that play on repeat for the entire weekend. That Cricket Wireless commercial. Dun, dun, na, 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 na. Oh, and that Best Buy commercial, which plays over and over and over, Cars for Kids style. Can I have a donut? Needy! Oh, to the football.
We start Tottenham 1, Chelsea 2. Antonio Conte's men prove mental toughness trumps tactics and possession. Chelsea took the lead in the 24th minute when Diego Alonso, curled home a remarkable free kick after a physical battle that might as well have been a McGregor-Mayweather undercard. Spurs broke through with substitute Michy Batshuayi heading Christian Eriksen's free kick generously into his own net. But 2 minutes from time, it was that debonair Spaniard, Marcus Diego Alonso, smashing a hard, low shot through Hugo Lloris to claim all 3 points in Spurs' first home, air quotes, league game at Wembley.
Wembley, Davo. Tottenham Hotspur's Winter White House, as I prefer to call it. Oh, they enter there this is astonishing, a 14-game home Premier League win streak. But for them, Wembley, it has got, and we will discuss this later, the same effect that the long hallways and maze garden of the Stanley Hotel had on old Jack Nicholson in The Shining. They've had just 2 wins in their last 10 games at the famed venue. But after Chelsea's first week humiliation, we all remember the Burnley loot train attack. This Chelsea, which Don Antonio had proclaimed pre-game, was possibly 4 years away from being truly primed. No Hazard, no Cesc. Spurs disappointed that there were no Gary Cahill, but Bakayoko only half fit. I mean, this Chelsea team seemed akin to like that Jon Snow Suicide Squad setting grimly out north of the wall to catch a White Walker, probably Eric Dyer. Did you see this coming, this result, David, this performance before kickoff, for reals?
I went in hoping for a draw because I hoped that the team would show the toughness to go and get a draw. I never would have expected a win, but I think I did expect Tottenham to outplay Chelsea, which they did again, and they have done consistently. But I also didn't see Tottenham winning the game. They've only beaten them 5 times in 51 in the Premier League era, Rog. But I certainly didn't see Chelsea getting a win, and it was credit to their toughness. We spoke about it yesterday. Credit to their toughness that they did it, that they pulled it off.
In the opening exchanges, though, they did come out, Davo, and set the tone, look to assert themselves. We got Morata's missed header inside 5 minutes. Heartbreaking to those of us who love nice guys and don't want them transitioning into Ralph Wiggum or worse, Chelsea-era Fernando Torres before our eyes.
He did score last week, Roger. He had a pretty good game last week.
But who needs Morata when you got Alonso?
Free kick one on the just outside the area. Perfect distance for him. He calls everybody else off. He scored a couple of great free kicks last season, and he just curls it over that wall. Top draw, Rog. A fantastic free kick, 1-0.
It's not just product placement for the new Barbie Ken doll. He's a phenomenal footballer. I mean, watching that just float agonisingly close, but over the Tottenham wall. Poor Toby Alderweireld, helpless, attempting to nose the ball to safety. And he could only watch it agonisingly fly through the halo of his nose hair. Game then really became, fittingly for Wembley, like watching a cup final, Dave. Spurs, Davis and Trippier on the flanks, not providing the kind of speed that they have in seasons yore. So the game became all about the centre of the field, and the tackles just flew in. I thought Andreas Christensen was terrific.
Yeah.
That 3-man midfield starting lineup.
Bakayoko also came out, Rog. I mean, with the volume turned up to about 27. He needs to get a little finer tuned to go and play in the Premier League.
I love N'Golo Kante, the perfect human. There was just little space on the ball. It was just a battle for physical dominance and superiority. It was rock'em sock'em robot football. There was 30 minutes of David Luiz. I timed this. I watched it afterwards. There was a 30-minute spell in which the game was either David Luiz fouling something or David Luiz being fouled. He just seemed to be everywhere. Yeah,
but the irony is he was in there in almost a playmaking role, sitting in the centre of midfield. He was the creative playmaker in centre of midfield. He's realised what a versatile player he is. I don't think he's at Cesc level as a playmaker. This might explain why Chelsea is still going very hard after Danny Drinkwater. But look, a lot of players playing out of position, a lot of players playing in unfamiliar roles. I think the problem for Chelsea, one of the reasons Spurs had so much possession in the middle of the game, certainly the last 5 minutes of the first half, the opening 15, 20 minutes of the second, just Tottenham came at Chelsea and they always had the ball. Chelsea was so good last season with Diego Costa, with Hazard and with Pedro, chasing down the defenders, chasing down the holding midfielders when they were out of possession with the ball. Morata felt very, very stranded on his own up there.
Opponents feared what Diego Costa could do as a one-man wrecking crew. With him gone, you do not fear Chelsea. You are able to come onto them. And that second half was largely one-way traffic. Chelsea had their goal from their set piece. They sat deep to defend. And for long stretches, this was just a taut, psychological battle between Harry Kane and the Harry Kane doesn't score in August statistic. I mean,
yeah, he hit the post pretty hard in that first half.
You said you love that because what did you say about that? You said that
it came back 3 times harder off the post than it hit it onto the post. But then Willian hit the same post in the second half. Chelsea almost went 2-0 up. It wasn't all one-way traffic, Rog. They almost went 2-0 up before the equaliser. The same thing happened. I think they've got very bouncy posts.
Posts are juiced. Posts are juiced, dude.
They're very juiced.
Oh, Harry Kane now 8 shots, most ever in a game without scoring in his career. Yet you look at Spurs football and it was all a bit predictable. Even their subs, Son and Sissoko, were not really kind of tactical wild card game changers. But who needs a game changer when Chelsea are going to bring one on for you? Enter Michy Batshuayi.
Yeah, Conte does not like going to the subs early. He often makes all 3 subs, but he seems to try and make them as late as possible in the game. Maybe because he knows they're going to do what Michy did. Brings on Michy.
3 minutes and 16 seconds later.
Yeah, he is. Seems to be the lead defender on a set piece from Christian Eriksen. And he just puts the ball. But I mean, it was a good finish, to be fair, right into his own net. Cahill couldn't have done it.
Yeah, but, it's a big confidence builder for a little Chelsea team that can show that they can score own goals when Cahill's not in the team.
Very true.
Oh, here's what amazed me, though, about that moment, that game, that narrative, that momentum, all with Spurs at that point. I mean, the commentators started to talk about a trope about how Spurs look like they're going to go on now. They're going to grab a winner. But we forget, this is Chelsea, Davo. This is Chelsea. And even a Chelsea team who are not where you probably want them to be in terms of the squad acquisition over the summer, they are still tenacious. There is still a mental will to win that is deeply embedded in the DNA of this squad that's pure Don Antonio Conte. I mean, you compare that to Arsenal, as we will in a minute. When that Spurs equaliser went in, Chelsea were meant to fold. They were meant to fold, Davo. But other than United under Sir Alex Ferguson, I haven't seen a team like this Chelsea team that never gives up belief, that even when everything's against them, they tenaciously hold on to everything that they care deeply about.
I agree wholeheartedly, but I'd also say that this is more than just this squad and Don Antonio Conte. This is why over the last 13 years, there's been something going on at this club where throughout the club, at every single level of this club, there is a winning mentality and a mental toughness that exists through this whole club. I don't think it's just about this manager because they've won more than anybody else over the last 13 years in football, Rog. It's a larger thing than just that. It's a larger thing than just this squad. But it is their great quality. It's the hardest thing to go and recreate. It was the hardest thing about, Manchester United for decades under Sir Alex Ferguson, that mental toughness. And Chelsea certainly have it. And even with not a very competitive squad, with a lot of injuries, with, not having done enough transfer business, with some red card suspensions, they found a way to win against a team, again, Tottenham. How many times have we had this conversation when these two teams play football? A team who, I would say, outplayed them on the day.
2 shots on target, both of them Marcus Alonso goals. He's so fetched, Davo. Yes, on the second one, Lloris went down in instalments. But it's astonishing to watch this man. Remember, this is a gent that barely made an impact at Bolton Wanderers and at Sunderland. I mean, rarely has a player thrived more in a culture, in a tactical system, and under a certain coaching mentality. And that Conte reaction to it, the leap. It looked like he was trying to garrote his assistant and then kidney punch anyone that was generally within his vicinity. He is Luca Brasi reincarnate. It seems he doesn't need new players at all, Conte, Dave. That's just a diversion. That's a distraction. He just needed to buy a new suit and burn that 0-2 tracksuit in a ritual ceremony dedicated to the Lord of the Light by Melisandre.
Look, I think from a Chelsea point of view, the biggest thing learned yesterday is that some of the role players, Alonso, probably not Chelsea's, doubt he would make your top 5 Chelsea players of last season, but he stepped up superbly yesterday. I think a lot of players stepped up, and Bakayoko, I think, looks like the real deal, coming in, able to play that aggressive central midfield role. So that was a relief as a Chelsea fan.
Poor Pochettino at the final whistle, slumped in his seat. Look, I love a man with a tummy, hot pie. You said to me when we were breaking down this game, you turned to me, we should do this on the Land Rover tactical session.
Yeah.
You said to me, few chubby men look better in a sweater than Poch.
Yeah, V-neck sweater. He wears a V-neck sweater, dark colour. So what? If you're a slightly chubby man, you got to go for the V-neck, and you got to wear a slightly darker shade. But that fits him so well. He wears it so well. He looks gorgeous in that
I think
sweater.
It's a bold move. I do, with that tummy. And I'm talking, normally I do this on my other podcast, Tummy Time. As a man with a tummy, I normally veer towards the cardigan. I would never recommend any gent go to the V-neck. But I believe Pochettino does it, just saying, this is who I am. I'm going to enforce this look upon you. I do think the white stitching on his shoulders is trying too hard to make that a thing. I mean, God, after Pep now, every manager is just struggling to find a signature look. And that Poch white stitching, it serves no practical purpose whatsoever, which hence its ridiculousness. I do deduct a star point or two for that, but I think he looks just absolutely, authentically full on Poch. But hands in his head at the end, 67% possession, and his team leave the game again against Chelsea, again with nothing. We've got to talk about Wembley, Davey. Because this, to me, can't be about the size of the pitch or the different hair conditioner in the changing room. It's got to be that it's cursed, right?
Look, I think the larger thing here is you've got to ask yourselves, and Tottenham fans will be going insane, they'd rather it's about Wembley than about their inability to beat Chelsea. But 5 wins against Chelsea in 51 Premier League games, it's a strange hoodoo that they have when it comes to playing their bitterly hated West London rivals. It's just, there's something about that fixture that maybe is even larger than the thing going on with Wembley Stadium. But it's not going to be the same home field advantage that they had at a very tight, very raucous, very atmosphere-laden White Hart Lane.
Yeah, but they've lost so many at Wembley, Dave, over the last 12 months. To be candid, a curse is really the only logical conclusion. I've really given this a lot of thought.
Well, no, Conte said something interesting, though. He said that it makes it a big game atmosphere for both teams, is that his fans are excited to go and come to Wembley Stadium. So I think it's hard to imagine that Tottenham are going to adapt to playing there like it's a home game.
But
Wembley's
to lose so many games,
place.
David, to lose so many games. I mean, if it was just that it was like playing an away game for Spurs, they'd occasionally win some. They've won last season. They won 9 of their 18 on the road, but they've now lost 7 of their last 9 matches at Wembley. They've lost each of their last 4 against Chelsea at Wembley. I mean, I spent the summer in a lake house, David. It was beautiful. But it wasn't my own. I didn't know how to work the shower for 2 weeks. Couldn't find NBCSN on the TV without the search mode on the guide, which was really slow, buggy and annoying. In similar fashion, I believe partially it takes footballers time to adjust. I remember Thierry Henry saying that he always knew at Highbury where to cut in on goal because of his spatial relationship to the Highbury clock. He didn't have to look at the goal at all. But he didn't have a familiar marker at the Emirates, and it confused him for a while. So I do believe there is change, there is transition that the players have to go through, but there's no rational understanding at all about why they lose so many at this place other than it's cursed. I think of Spurs...
Or Rog, that every game at Wembley is like a big game, and Tottenham aren't very good in big games. The loss at West Ham last season, the draw at Stamford Bridge, the year they were chasing Leicester for the title. Like, big games are when this team tend to come apart, and every game at Wembley, by definition, is a big game.
Maybe you're right. Either you're right or I'm right, because I've just started to think about Spurs' relationship to Wembley like I do to my own relationship to my mother-in-law's house. I mean, I love my mother-in-law. You know that, David?
You do. You adore her.
But a space, it's not my own. I'm being there for too long, and too long is really 2.5 hours, 3 hours plus.
Yeah.
I just get overwhelmed by an aching longing for home. And when I watch Spurs play football at Wembley, I recognise that look in their eyes. They can't panic now. They're actually very good in this game. They face up to Burnley, again at home. I use home loosely. And they have to win. They really have to win on Sunday. or else a true psychological albatross is going to settle on their shoulders in terms of this home hex.
Okay, Swansea 0, Manchester United 4. 2 4-0 wins in a row for United after scoring just once in the game's first 79 minutes. Jose Mourinho's men uncorked a 3-goal barrage in 3 minutes and 41 seconds to remove the Swans' spine. Sub-zero from Mortal Kombat style. Goals from Bailly, Lukaku, Roger X, Pogba and Martial.
What to make of this game? What to make of this Manchester United? This was Swansea. As I said on the television show, they're essentially the gas station sushi of football teams.
I like gas station sushi, Rogers, I said also.
And watching this game, United laboured initially. And Paul Clement's bold tactical decision to go three-piece suit. He had a back four that was well-drilled, robust, confident. And Swansea actually had a glut of chances. United were not comfortable dealing with precise deliveries in the box. And with a good striker, paging Llorente, Swansea could have had 2 or 3 goals in that first half. Sadly, they only had Tammy Abraham and an Ayew brother up top. It was all whiff City. But then on the stroke of half-time, just when it seemed that the Mancunians were flaccid without the might and the legend that is one Wayne Rooney, Swansea switched off on the corner. We'll get there. We'll get there. Pogba thundered the ball off the crossbar and Bailly just tapped it home from Breck Shea range. And then they demolished Swansea late on. And it's not clear to me, I'll ask you this, did Manchester United grind down Swansea into submission, or did Swansea throw in the towel? Because when I look at that defending, as United bludgeoned them in that late 3-minute 41 burst, Davo, Chelsea-ish in their counter-attacking masterclass transition game, 2016-17 Chelsea-ish anyway, Mkhitaryan, Pogba at the heart of much, the Pogba that we were promised, deft, pacey, subtle in his finishing. Which was it, Davo? Was it that United were imperious, or was it that Swansea essentially, when it came to it, were just not that arsed?
Well, I think it can actually be both, Rog. Sometimes what intimidates you when you play against better opposition is that you sort of fall apart in the big moments. I played my nephew at tennis today. He went 2-love up, Rog, and then I won 6 games in a row because he just couldn't win the big points. And really, was it me who beat him 6-2, or did he lose 6-2 himself by constantly at 30-all, like hitting his forehand into the net by going for too much? So it was I think Man United, they can only play the teams who are put out in front of them. And certainly 8 goals, 0 against through 2 games. This has been a great start to the season. And whatever their relative standard, they certainly are flying with confidence now, sort of heading through the rest of this month into September, into the first half of the Premier League season. 6
points, 8 goals scored, 0 conceded. Great stat from ESPN that in 2 games, United have managed to rack up 15% of their total goals scored in the Premier League last season. I think with what United fans have been through in the post-Sir Alex Ferguson wandering years, the anonymous years, they've got permission. They the obligation and responsibility to go way overboard on their excitement. I mean, they are going to score a lot more goals in the next couple of weeks. They've been handed an insanely kind schedule by the Premier League scriptwriters. It is not, Davo, until mid-October when they play Liverpool that they face a top 6 team. The Manchester United resurgent storyline is one that is going to grow and grow and grow. And I did love Mourinho's press conference post-game when he poker-faced, slightly angry, waspish, muttered in a way that he tries to show he's not. I am very happy. That's the winning Mourinho, right?
It was peak 2014-15 at Chelsea, Jose Mourinho. The Mourinho who is never unhappier than when he's truly happy. He's just so good at doing that, Rog.
Yeah, never happier than when pretending to be unhappy when his team are winning.
So true. So true.
To life.
But look, this is a guy who many of the great learned men of the English sports media have said, I think you just have to ask yourself whether the era of modern management and the modern game of football has passed Jose Mourinho by. He's still a fantastic manager. He knows how to lead a team of winners, and he just looks for, I wouldn't want to play them right now. Okay, Rog, Stoke 1, Arsenal 0. Arsenal follow up their remarkable 4-3 opening weekend comeback over Leicester by falling at Stoke. I realise, by the way, we get so many ravens from Arsenal fans who say that they fast forward when we talk about Arsenal after they've lost games. So fast forward now. Despite having more than 77% possession, a 47th minute goal from PSG Loney, Hesse Rodriguez, and some, let's call them contentious refereeing decisions, leave Arsenal fans with their heads in their hands.
Yeah, I always love that story about the undefeated 1972 Miami Dolphins coming together to toast the preservation of their unbeaten record. And in the light of that, I just imagine the members of Arsenal's 2003-04 invincible season got together over the weekend and shared a glass of Chardonnay as this season's proud Arsenal squad finally surrendered their unbeaten run at the second hurdle. Yep, Arsenal bend the knee at Stoke, Davo. We've seen this before, right?
Yeah, we have seen it before. All that possession and ultimately for nothing. But this is what Stoke do. This is why they're such a difficult team to play against. And there were some great performances on the stripe side of the ball.
There were, not least Jeff Cameron in his 150th Premier League game. New Stoke loan signing Hesse, ex of PSG, now of Bet365 lowercase b, who trained just once with his new colleagues, got himself a goal and I want to make a mine. 1-0 to the rugby team, sang the delirious Stoke faithful. They love nothing more, nothing than goading Arsene Wenger and his cosmopolitan globalist snowflakes. Hashtag dog whistle. And their team sat deep. I've seen teams defend Hail Mary plays less deep than the way Stoke played for the second half, Dave. I mean, Jack Butland in the Stoke goal, superb. That man, I say this sadly, he must be very close to becoming something I wouldn't wish upon my own children. England's number one.
I think he is very close to becoming England's number one. And by the way, Kurt Zouma, has he found the perfect team in Stoke City for his purely athletic, zero footballing ability, talent for launching crunching tackle and aerial challenge after each other?
What could Arsenal muster in response, Dave? 2 penalty shouts and an ever so slightly offside goal by Lacazette. God, can we just talk about Lacazette for a minute? Because bloody hell, has he aged since he's been at Arsenal? I'm worried for it. I really am. There may be some kind of an intervention going on. The bags under his eyes, the sudden searing balding in sector 3.7. Just the only kind of physical aging I've seen, like what he's gone through, is the before and after photos of 2-term presidents.
But I think he's probably commuting back to France after every training session. I don't know what he's doing, Rog, but he needs to get a bit more sleep.
Whatever's happened, his transformation has occurred in the course of just 2 games. But you love mostly Arsene Wenger's Trumpian wailings post-match.
Oh, his post-match conference, Rog, is quoting the statistics, the penalties conceded and penalties awarded, saying that Arsenal received less penalties than any other team in the Premier League last season and had more awarded against them. Both facts blatantly untrue, proven to be untrue by several newspapers who then wrote the stories. He's become Trumpian. He is alternative facts. He is fake news. But I think in Arsene's mind, he just believes that. He heard somebody, maybe he watched it on Fox and Friends, Rog, but he believes this to be the case.
And in that Trumpian trope, Dave, Priebus gone, Spicer gone, Bannon gone, but somehow Arsene Wenger still has a job. All I can say about this game, in which Arsenal were not bad at all. I mean, they had so much possession, they had so much might. They were so predictable, though, so obvious that I imagined even Charlie Brown would have taken a break from trying to kick a football with Lucy Holding and would have just screamed, Wenger, who could not see, based upon what you have done in the transfer window, who could not have seen this coming? I mean, it's too early. It's too early in the season for us to be declaring Arsenal's campaign to have staled. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I want to. I mean, watching Welbeck, well-meaning but imprecise, watching Theo Walcott trot around that field.
Oh, my God, that's so sad.
Half-heartedly. It's terrible. Watch it half-heartedly when the game needs saving. And he has no real ambition of driving his game. But
£140,000 a week. That's like $200,000 a week he makes, and he comes on for 11 minutes, and that's all he's got.
And he has no real ambition of driving his team back into the game. No real thought at all, Dave. I can only think of Larkin's quote that life is slow dying. 2 games into Arsenal's season, that's what it looks like it's destined to be. And now Liverpool await at the weekend. Can there be a must-win this early in the season, David?
Yeah, well, it would be tough for them to lose that game. against Liverpool, Rog. It's going to be very, very difficult.
This was the first weekend I can see Arsene Wenger being fired if the narrative flips on him mid-season. That would be a dark and humiliating reality, not one I would want to see.
Oh, I can't bear to see him go, Rod, because I want to be fact-checking him for the rest of the season, like MSNBC do the president. So we'll see what happens, but definitely some worrying signs for Arsenal fans, Rog. Talking of Liverpool, they beat Crystal Palace 1-0. A 73rd minute Sadio Mane joink sees Liverpool escape with a win over lowly Palace at Anfield. Despite the 3 points, most of the news about Jurgen Klopp's side is about what's happening off the field.
Yep, Liverpool's weekend began with the club rejecting a bid for Philippe Coutinho in the region of, this is staggering, $146 million. I mean, Barcelona have suggested that they're now going to move on. Who wouldn't take $146 million for Coutinho, David?
Oh, I have no idea, Rog. But it just appears that because now you're in that horrible situation where you've got a player who doesn't particularly want to be there playing at this club, and his value goes down and down and down and down and down.
I mean, I bet the club internally would love to take the money, but he's become such a symbol for this fan base, such a symbol of the direction the club's going in. When we were in Orlando, the doorman of our hotel was a massive red from Kirkdale, Liverpool. That is proper Liverpool. And he was a fantastic bloke. He'd lived in Florida for 14 years, but he still sounded like he trotted right off the terraces of Anfield. And he was talking to J-Dubs and myself, and his voice just dripped thick with the most profound drive, that of a man who's tasted glory in his distant past. He hungers for it again in his lifetime. He's got that mixture of desire, remorse, belief, desperation, which is why no less an expert than Arsene Wenger, when he was asked to chime in on the Coutinho debate, and he knows about this issue, Davo, he said there's, quote, passion, ego and pride involved in a club wanting to hold on to its star. And Coutinho, he's not a guarantee of being able to win, but he is a guarantee for this Liverpool side of being able to dream, which is almost as important.
Well, who knows what happens now? Looks like with the transfer window coming to a close, they're going to keep him unless Barcelona come in for a lot more money. It doesn't appear that they are. And Liverpool fans have had another frustrating off-season.
Well, they got 3 points, Davo, which in the short term brings a joy. And ultimately, increasingly, football is more and more about short-term knee-jerk reactions. I will say, though, it was hard fought because in this game, Liverpool struggled initially against the Palace back five.
Yeah, certainly a better performance by Palace this week over last. But FDB, Frank de Boer, welcome to the Premier League. 2 losses in your first 2 games. A lot of nervousness in South London about this team right now. This very, very young Palace team. Wilfried Zaha out for a little while, injured for a tough start to the season. It's going to be competitive down there at the bottom.
Nervous energy, not just in Crystal Palace. Anfield, my brother sat there texting me just how much the energy was bordering negative as that game kicked on and Liverpool pushed forward tight sphincteredly, knowing that their glass jaw of a defence was just a constant liability. And then on came Solanke, immediately caused havoc. And there's that ball pinged around the Palace box where there's Mane, there's hope. And in he swooped. One Mane team, that's a dad joke. And what was interesting, watching Sadio Mane, a phenomenal footballer, ran to Klopp on the sideline. And then something I've never seen before, David, jumped towards Jurgen Klopp, the Teutonic Care Bear, and he was denied a hug.
I know. Maybe this is a new thing, Jurgen. Maybe it's a little phase that Jurgen's going through.
The withholder, daddy withholding
Yeah.
cuddles.
Yeah.
Poor Sadio Mane, confused, had to settle for a water bottle from Klopp's Kloppelganger, that guy that looks like Jurgen on the bench, little penny. Jurgen Snow. Klopp's a legitimate offspring. 3 points for Liverpool. Not a dominant performance. But Palace, Liverpool's perpetual bogey team, exactly the kind of mediocre opponent who would have done Liverpool last season. I'd say there's lots to feel positive about. Until Liverpool move forward into that Arsenal clash, they're not yet overwhelmingly confident, but first win, first clean sheet of the season. And I'd say without the abject fear and doomsday feelings that swirled around Anfield just 7 days ago, which in Liverpool passes for a massive leap for mankind.
Talking of massive leaps for mankind, Roger, Burnley 0, West Brom 1. These guys are barely Homo erectus, Rog. The baggies stay perfect through 2 games. Substitute Hal Robson-Kanu scored the lone goal in the 71st minute, only to be sent off 12 minutes later and seal his Man of the Match award from the baseball cap-clad Tony P.
There will be ballads written for future generations about Tony Pulis's great famed invincible season, Davo. That 6'5" defender, Ahmed Hagazi, cult hero in the making, 2 games in, and that consistent in wardrobe, consistent in football TP. Seems like he's got one hand on his goal for the season, which is avoiding relegation. Mazel tov, Tony.
Yeah, just 34 points to go. Huddersfield 1, Newcastle 0. The Terriers make it 6 points from a possible 6 in their first 2 Premier League games, beating fellow New Boys Newcastle. A 50th minute curling effort from Aussie Aaron Moy, spelt Moy but pronounced Moy. The difference for David Wagner's men.
We got ourselves a new Powerball, Dave.
Yeah.
Aaron Moy, Australian Michael Bradley. God, I love Huddersfield. I really do. Proof to me that money isn't everything in football. It really is. But Huddersfield are that rare, wonderful exception. Long may it rain. Mostly because David Wagner, the prince that was promised, he's just got an ability to think differently and to eke out tiny details, give his club a competitive advantage that they wouldn't otherwise have. If you haven't listened to the David Wagner pod special on Men in Blazers, please listen to it. It will make you a better human being. It will make you love Huddersfield even more. At the end of it, I just say, I asked David Wagner if the club are a model to anyone who dares to dream. I mean, softball question, soft lob, and he just pounded it away. He almost slapped me. He goes, I hate dreams. He told me he only believes in visions, which he pronounces visions. I only believe in visions.
I love visions.
And he said, I want to read what he said because it's beautiful, Dave. He said, the difference between a vision and a dream is that in the dream you wake up and you didn't really know what happened. He said, sometimes you can't even remember how your dream was. But in visions, Davo, you have targets. You've got ideas. How do you reach that vision? How do you reach your vision? And this is why he said, I have more visions than I have dreams. And he said, we in Huddersfield are working on our visions.
Yes, working on our visions. That's a T-shirt, Rog.
To visions, Davo. To visions. To visions.
Yeah, I have lots of visions. Leicester 2, Brighton 0. Leicester bounced back from that crushing loss to Arsenal thanks to goals from Shinji Okazaki and summer signing Harry Maguire. Southampton 3, West Ham 2. The Saints score at home for the first time in more than 9 hours. And in the end, a 93rd minute Chaz Austin penalty, Southampton's second of the game, earns them all 3 points against the 10-man West Ham, despite a Chicharito brace. Bournemouth 0, Watford 2. Goals from summer signing and Rog Bennett fantasy star Richarlison and a stonker from Etienne Capoue keep the Orns unbeaten on the season.
Yeah, pick Richarlison. He won't let you down, Togger lovers. He won't let you down.
You love Richarlison. And finally, Rog, Man City 1, Everton 1. Wayne Rooney scored his second goal in as many games to put the Toffees ahead 1-0. But even after Kyle Walker was sent off in his home debut, 10-Man City found a way back through the most unlikely of sources. Rog, he hammered home a volley in the 82nd minute, presumably on purpose, to split the points. Presumably, not on purpose. Presumably, he was aiming for the other side of the net.
Oh, Dave, what a nipple-tingling battle for control this game was.
You were down after this game, Rog.
I was.
Down. You couldn't even form words. You felt like you were exhausted. You were demoralised.
But it was a sense of progress that I could be so down, Dave, because it meant I had hope.
You had feelings.
Yeah, I had belief, Davo, which is something, it's new, and it's wonderful. Because this was a game between cities, can we just say, so many weapons, so much potency. And young
Visions.
Everton.
So many visions and weapons.
Young English Everton's good intentions, their game plan.
Maybe too many English players, Rog. Maybe too many English players. I think 8 in that starting lineup. And that back three, it held Pep's many guns at arm's range and then tried to threaten through 20-year-old Dominic Calvert-Lewin. So young, so fast. He just kept charging through the City defence, forcing Sané back. And then he'd have to wait 20 to 30 seconds for Wayne Rooney to trot
and catch up. It was like watching an English big baby Glenn Davis for most of that game, just huffing and puffing. And sometimes he'd even shout at Dominic Calvert-Lewin for not passing. But the honest truth is, when Calvert-Lewin was by the corner flag, Wayne was just crossing the halfway line.
I thought that Wazza was really impressive in this game. I think he's playing football all over the park. He's leading these young kids. He's talking to them all, Rog. But you are right. He does. Even with his goal, he arrives in the box late, like a late-breaking midfielder, sort of like Lampard style. And however, he's playing number 9.
Yeah, I try and think about this Everton team in a way I do. I think about train lines and trains. Sometimes you need an express, other times you need a local. And I just say Wayne Rooney's making all stops on the way to that box, but it works because on the 35th minute, Calvert-Lewin charges down the flank, and who was there to spank it home off Ederson?
He opens his body, Rog, and he hits it really, really well. Rooney, 200 Premier League goals, Rog.
I never doubted you, Wayne. Some wrote you off.
Never doubted him.
Some said you'd lost it, that you were too old. Not this guy. Not this guy, right, Davo?
Yeah, fat, old, too bald, everything.
Who needs Lukaku when you got Runaku? I'll just say there's Barristan Selmy, there's Betty White, there's Ave Vigoda. Wayne Rooney still kicking it at that age is a remarkable thing to watch. He did become the second player alongside, as you said, Newcastle icon Alan Shearer to break the 200-goal barrier in the Premier League. 19 of those 200 important ones scored in an Everton jersey. and I watch it and I try and understand it, Davo.
19 of those goals, you respect the player because they were scored in Everton jersey. 181 of them, you have zero respect for because they were scored for another team while you were brokenhearted that he left.
But here's how I think about it, this transition, Dave, because you're right, it has surprised some in the Everton faithful. And what I've realised is, watching him, he's 31 years old, and this club, Everton, have given him what he needs. He's essentially like a rescue shelter dog who's been given a caring home after being maltreated at his old place. They brought him for Christmas at Old Trafford. Dogs for life. And all Wayne needed to know was that he was needed, that he was wanted, and he was loved. I did love... And when he scored, he put his 2 hands to his perfectly jug-like ears to let the City fans know that he knew that they'd spent the first 36 minutes of the game screaming at him, "You're just a fat granny shagger." And he's more than that, isn't he, David?
Yeah, I think he is.
He's more than that.
This is the post-rationalisation, Rog, that you're having to, gymnastically work through.
Yeah, I mean, this is my
on
conclusion.
how to evaluate Wayne Rooney. I can't wait because it's going to be 38 podcasts this season when you're going to have to do the same thing.
Wayne's just, if you're listening, Wayne, you're just a fat granny shagger who can still score goals off Ederson's hands, and I love you for it. In the past, to be candid, funny emotion kicks in. I used to hate it when Everton went ahead in big games. We've talked about this a lot, about how Everton now had something to lose, and I couldn't bear that sense of impending doom. But with Jordan Pickford in goal, Davo, a man who has the risks of a world-class onanist, I had no fear, especially when Kyle Walker got sent off so that Tottenham fans could have their moments of happiness too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I must say, Pickford, I love how active he is in goal. I like how verbal he is. Meanwhile, at the other end, I think that Pep's got another dodgy lemon of a keeper there, Rog. I'm just not convinced.
City tried to rebound by throwing on many guns. I mean, they threw on more Silva, Bernardo Silva, who was excellent. They threw on Danilo.
Yeah.
But watching the game, Davo, it's really
they put on Raz.
It was really Everton who changed it. They brought on Gylfi, and you know I love that man. You know that
you do love him.
When he signed for Everton, it was probably the closest I'll ever come in my life to marrying my childhood sweetheart, Mitt Romney style. But it was wrong in this game to bring him on, Davo, alongside Davy Klaassen. Everton needed pace to surge forward. Gylfi doesn't have pace. That Morales or Baby Lookman would have stretched City. But without them, Everton had no outlet. City just smothered them. Raz, who had just been mocking with JW for his erratic finishing, for his hopeless finishing.
What, just been for the last 5 years?
Pretty much. I mean, he punished me. He punished young Holgate by taking a dodgy header back into the area and just spanking that ball into the corner. To me, Raz must have intended to hit the ball over the bar. That must have been what was in his mind, because it was a beautiful
He was
finish.
definitely aiming to hit it with the outside of his foot to the right-hand side of the goal. He ended up just hitting it right off the laces Rog straight back to the left-hand side of the goal. Good finish there.
It was. And at the end of the game, there was still time for one more beautiful moment. Wayne Rooney and David Silva meeting in the centre circle. Probably as odd a human encounter as there's ever been since Samuel Beckett met Andre the Giant in France when Andre was just 12 and already over 6 feet tall. Silva, remember now, a post-hair, post-truth, voluntary bald, looking into the eyes of Wayne Rooney, the world's single greatest bull denier. And if my lip reading is right, and I've only watched it about 247 times, I think David Silva smiles with love in his heart as Rooney rubs his bald head, rubs David Silva's bald head, and says, I think he says, I've got to watch it 248 times, he says, "Sad hair, mate," right to David Silva's face.
So, but at the end, Rog, 1-1, you seemed a little disappointed.
I felt disappointment. Rationally, before the game, I would have taken a point at the Etihad. Emotionally, though, it felt like a loss. Onwards, Hajduk split in Europa League. We play this Thursday. Then Sunday, Davo. Not in the face. Not in the face. Tell Blaise Erico. We play Chelsea.
Yeah. Big game. Big game. I mean, Everton should win this one. But with Chelsea, all these players out, all these injuries, the mental toughness can only go so far.
That worked on Arsenal,
David. Team coming in with the momentum, Rog.
Won't work on Everton. It work on Arsenal. Your reverse psychology. But here we go.
Okay, Rog, 2:38 into the season, and the Togger competition is already savage in the crap part of Soho, with producer Lexi jumping out to an early lead over all of us and taunting us in the process. GFOPs, there is still time to join our league. All of the information is on meninblazers.com. There is a weekly winner who receives an MIB patch. There is also a season-long winner who receives a lot more than a patch. Rog, the truth is, 2 weeks is not too big of a deficit to overcome, so get to signing up.
And sign up Rich Arlison. That's all you need to know.
In MLS, starting to get to the business end of the season, and wins for a suddenly rippling Seattle and sporting Kansas City keep them knotted at 40 points atop the Western Conference. In the East, Toronto defeated Chicago to stay ahead in the Supporters' Shield race that everyone's talking about. But the team trailing them by 4 points, NYCFC, are propelled by a man we would never bet against, David Villa.
Oh, my God, 1-0 down this team, propels them back, sets up a 93rd minute winner. Oh, with the deft touch of an experienced lover. That man plays as if he wishes he'd moved to MLS early in his career. I really adore watching him. New York derby this weekend. I cannot wait for that.
That game kicks off MLS Rivalry Week. That is at 7 p.m., that game Eastern, Friday evening on ESPN.
We got to quickly say, American soccer's boy child Joan of Arc leader, Christian Pulisic. What a stunning goal and an assist. Dortmund winning 2-0 to open their season over Wolfsburg. Youngest foreigner to score 6 times in the Bundesliga's history. I bet he's going to be in the Premier League within 12 months, David. There's a second prediction.
Oh, you wrote that. You wrote that on Twitter. A lot of people getting very excited.
Liverpool fans particularly. I would have sold Coutinho for 140 million and brought Pulisic for 60 in a heartbeat.
The winner of the coveted Guinness Men in Blazers Poet, Philosopher, Sucker, Scribe, Raven of the Week is a US Army captain, Rog, writing beautifully from Afghanistan. Gentlemen, I'm 2 months into a 12-month deployment, which means, as was likely your first thought, I'll be spending the entire Premier League season here. Of all the comforts from home, a glass of Malbec, the touch of a woman, seeing loved ones, the one I truly miss is waking up at 6:30 CST on a Saturday and watching the 3 Premier League games with a few Guinness in my Emre Can kit, a Liverpool beanie and a Liverpool scarf. Unsurprisingly, American Forces Network doesn't show the Premier League. NBC Sports algorithm won't let me watch the games. And although I bought LFC TV to watch my Reds, it still didn't feel as immersive as I was used to. Difficult times tend to reveal that which matters most. I realized the most joy I felt in my fandom is turning friends onto the Premier League. None of the Special Forces dudes I work with seemed inclined to care much about Trent Alexander-Arnold's terrific preseason. Certainly, none would sing Jerry and the Pacemakers with me. And Big Army won't let me wear my Liverbird pin on my uniform.
Big Army.
I thought this would be a solitary year. Although I'm not anywhere near starting a family, I'm at that age where my friends are getting married and some having children. And so I decided to play missionary and grow not only the beautiful game, but my Liverpool Supporters Club of One. I bought 5 full toddler-sized Liverpool kits and mailed them addressed to my friends' children without telling the parents. What are they going to do? Not dress the kid in the full kit? Their friend in a war zone bought it. And won't they have to put that picture on social media because it's so damn cute? And wouldn't that mean the child's allegiance is set? No self-respecting 6-year-old is going to claim United or Chelsea when there's already evidence he was a Liverpool fan at birth. And lo, there are 5 new 6 to 18-month-old Liverpool fans in Texas, Florida, New York, and Virginia. Whether those young Reds realize it yet or not, crawl on, indeed. Is this long game strategy fair? Has the isolation and sun gotten to me? Should I stop sending gifts to friends' children? Never mind. I know the answer to that one. Courage.
What a man. What a question. We'll just say thank you for your service. Genuinely humbled by your kind words. And for those of you who are currently serving and listening to our crap at the same time. By the way, Graham Scarborough, GFOP, who's a Top Gun pilot, recently dropped into the crap part of Soho and presented us with US flags that he'd flown over Syria.
Amazing.
Truly,
so moving.
We truly are not worthy. But you, Captain, you're singular because of the heroicism that you're doing on a daily basis on behalf of Liverpool FC. So I'm not sure if you got advice for him, Dave, other than I'd say Stevie G was an Everton fan as a kid. And whenever they play Liverpool, Everton fans would always lift up a huge banner of him in Everton kit with the Everton League title that we won. And it didn't seem to stop him from becoming a Liverpool fan.
This is the beauty of football. I love football fans. The lengths they will go to like find a way to support their club, even when they can't support their club, and converting young children back home by sending them full kits. That is just a step further than I could imagine ever going in my life, and I respect it.
I've got respect for it too. I did look up the Afghan Premier League rights holder for you, anonymous captain. It's called Ariana TV. It's based in Kabul. Mm-hmm. I'm sure it's as good as NBCSN, possibly better because our show's not on it. But my heartfelt suggestion would be go local. There's a vibrant men's league. There's a truly heroic women's team in Afghanistan. Get into the Afghan Premier League. All of you know what it is. It's the Roshan Afghan Premier League. 8 teams.
Yeah, love it.
Your team, Davo, Shaheen Azmi FC, the Falcons of Azmi. They're the current powerhouse champion. And I just say football, when I started to read about Africa, I fell down the wormhole of Afghani local football. And it just seems that it's a league that brings a phenomenal amount of happiness to a region that cries out for it. Happiness, an emotion that you, anonymous captain, as a Liverpool fan, might not be familiar with, but you'll grow to like.
Thank you for your service, Captain. Everybody serving around the world. But for those stateside, your weekend looks like this. 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time Saturday on the network NBC. Man United host Leicester City. Then 8:30 a.m. Sunday from Stamford Bridge. It's this season's first El Blazerico. Chelsea versus Everton on NBCSN. That's followed by Liverpool versus Arsenal at 11 a.m. And in MLS, it's a Sunday rival week triple header. It starts with Montreal versus Toronto at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. Then switch over to Fox Sports 1 for the Cali Clasico at 7 p.m. and Sounders versus Timbers at 9:30. There are many ways to connect with us.
And in the Afghan Premier League, the big game, Tufan Hadad FC played Daspingar Bazan FC. And I think we're on live after that, aren't we, David?
Yeah, no, let's hope not for their sake. There are many ways to connect to us. One is through the Amazon Emporium, which helps keep the show going. Anytime you go on Amazon for items big or small, just click off the Emporium page. Men in Blazers gets a tiny percentage that allows us to cover the costs of creating the show. What are you putting in the Emporium this week, Rog?
A book.
Wow.
The Force by Don Winslow, in tribute to the waning summer. I can't believe it's gone so fast. I thought I'd offer up one last wonderful beach read. This is a nosebleed epic, Game of Thrones, but with New York cops. It's a bit pulpy. The lingo's a bit macho David Mamet. But I promise that when you start reading it, all you will want to do is be with this book. You'll want to devour it. And then you'll want to go and buy Don Winslow's other volumes, arguably better, the true brilliant Mexican drug novels, The Cartel and The Power of the Dog, both of which will turn you into a true admirer of Don Winslow's writing.
Okay, Rog, if you, like me and the posts at Wembley, like juicing, you're going to want to get your hands on the Vitamix Professional Series 750 blender. I'd get it in black if I were you. It's a bargain at just $598.99, Rog. I picked myself. This is my third one. I now own 3 of these Vitamix blenders.
Why just
Rog.
3, David?
Well, I've only got 3 homes. I don't have a 4th home yet. When I have a 4th home, I'll get a 4th one. But I needed one for out in Bridgehampton because I love juicing, Rog. I love juicing. And just the Vitamix Professional Series. I've tried everything. I've tried everything. This is just the best you can possibly get.
I know everyone who's listening is saying if you really loved it, you'd buy another house just to buy another blender.
Well, don't think I'm not working on that, Roger, as we speak. Lots of other ways to connect to us. Visit meninblazers.com to sign up for our newsletter, which we produce with our partner Guinness. You can follow us on Twitter at meninblazers, at Embassy Davies, at Rog Bennett, on Instagram at meninblazers, at Embassy_Davies, on Facebook meninblazers. You can always send your ravens to the crap part of Soho. You can always email us at meninblazers@gmail.com. Venderpunk, Rog.
War pig.
Who wants to sex Matumbo?
Explosion.
Balls win, balls win.
Take that, Gloria.
Balls lose.
Oh, to see a sucker. Well, we
Abrigado,
can.
rock on, mate.
Kung Fu fight in America. We love you, Wayne. We never doubted your legend. Just have
Yes,
more
you did.
visions. Just have more visions.
Visions. Love you, Rod.
Love you, Davey.